folks. Welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, the nutritious channel. Great discussion today with a great guest, and we're going to tackle again your nutrition. That means we have to talk about some stuff that's going to help us stay healthy and well. And our guest today is going to take us on a journey of research and definitely some stuff that he has put in place to help us or help people around the world be healthier in their gut and their biome. And we got to talk about all that stuff. I mean, you hear these technical terms sometimes, it gets a little tricky, but I'm not the expert. He is our expert. He's going to guide us there. So he's an entrepreneur. He is a researcher, but he has also a story that got him into where we are today. He's also an author. He just wrote his book, and we're going to talk about his book as well. So without any further ado, I have with me Craig Brockie. Craig, welcome to the show.
Hurricane Age, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you making the time and introducing me to your audience. I'd love to help as many people as possible. And let's start right here with your group and see what we can do to uplift this group, make them feel healthier, make them feel happier, more productive, and turn things around on this planet because things are a little bit sketchy at the moment. And, a lot of crazy things going on in the world, but I think we can turn things around. And it starts with us and getting ourselves healthy and happy and helping others. So let's start there.
Well, listen, it's amazing. You're right. I mean, there's just so much stuff going on that is not right at any different angle. I mean, you can look at bad things happening, but I do believe in positivity and a positive mindset, and we have to look at the bright side. And there's always good. And I mean, you are out there doing good. We're trying to do good and help people. And the good news is, this is not just in the U.S. We're broadcasting worldwide, and we have audiences all over. And I think anyone can benefit from the discussion of today's show. So that's it. But Craig, you have a story. You had your own health concerns back in the days, and so if you don't mind, let's start from there, because I think that's actually what got you into today's mode, and what the research and all the work that you've done, your invention and all this stuff has been driven by that particular, I guess, moment of life. So let's start from there.
Right. Well, I don't want to bore your audience. I like to always lead with value, but um, I would say I just want to start with inspiration.
Okay.
30 years ago, I was in rough shape. Every day, every morning, it was just difficult getting out of bed. I had chronic anxiety. My immune system was just totally destroyed. I was sick all the time. I had chronic pain in my neck and my back, and life just was not pleasant at all. So if anyone, now I'm 50 years old, and a lot of people think I look a lot younger than my age. And I know
Yep.
you've got a 27-year-old son, so obviously you've done a lot of good things for your health. You look fantastic and young and youthful. So, the things we're doing are going to help people. And I want everybody on this call to look and feel 10 years younger. And I think unless you're 10 years old, I think that's a reasonable expectation. Especially if you're middle-aged right now and you have some aches and the pains, or, you've got some immune system problems or whatever those things are, I definitely want to help you with those because, 30 years ago, I was in really, really rough shape. I tried different doctors, different specialists, just wasn't working. So what I found was a massage therapist of all things at the time. And he said to me, what he did for me was 10% of it. And what I did for myself was 90% of it. So he basically put the responsibility on me to make myself better. And he introduced me to naturopathy and natural medicine. And that just turned things around for me. I learned that I had a really, like, my gut microbiome was terrible. I had a leaky gut. I had candida yeast overgrowth, which is a fungus overgrowth. And what a lot of people don't know, here's the first thing I'll lead in terms of value. A lot of people don't realize this, but your gut actually affects your mood and your anxiety, as well as, how happy you feel, because your neurotransmitters, including serotonin, are actually produced in the gut. Even the American Psychological Association recognizes this and states this on their own website, that neurotransmitters are actually manufactured in the gut. So by actually getting rid of the bacteria in there and the fungus that's not supposed to be there, and cleaning it up and healing it, and these things can take just a matter of weeks. And I covered that in depth in my book, and a lot of other authors explain gut health as well. But if you turn these things around, you can actually start feeling not just healthier, but your emotional state improves a lot and your outlook on life improves. And these are all the things that I'd like to share with your audience today.
Well, thank you. I mean, well, first of all, it's an incredible story. And by the way, I've again, I've had a few guests who had exactly the same thing. And, early on in our lives, we go into different lifestyles, and especially when you're in the college days, things get a little fun.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you kind of ruin a lot of your body and energy and stuff. And you know what? It is difficult because when you go into the healthcare system, I mean, you get diagnosed by things, but you still have to work on what it is. And sometimes conventional medicine works, to fix the immediate situation, but it's not, dealing with the root cause and what it is. And that's really usually what typically I've been finding out through the shows and the research and discussions with experts. And but you're right. I mean, if you can ultimately, get your health to optimum levels, especially in the middle age, era, because you're I'm gonna be 53 in a week, so I can tell
Wow.
you, the aches do happen after 50.
Yeah.
If there's anyone that can, claim that, I can tell you that. I mean, whether you like it or not, those things happen, and I have led a very, I would say, nicely healthy lifestyle in terms of I don't drink, I don't smoke, I
Hmm.
do work out all my life. I've been in martial arts, but it doesn't. I try to eat healthy, but we all have different things that can still happen to your body. But you're right. Looking for the ultimate health, as in your book, is an important piece to everyone. And there's no one on this planet that would not want to know why and how they can convert their body to be the best. And what you stated about I guess the autoimmune system or the immune system in general and the gut health and the
Hmm.
microbiome, it is real, folks. I mean, there's research today, as you stated, that's where it's all happening. A lot of our immune system drives from there. A lot of these things, if they're not optimum, we're not feeling our, receptors. I mean, I had just had a show with one of the doctors that specialize in autoimmune system and also a writer. When we talked about this, it's all there, and
Hmm.
the way even vitamins and stuff, if they're not received properly and the receptors are not doing what they have to do and things like that, things go out of whack. So it's important. So thank you for sharing that. And by the way, you look fantastic for 50. So yeah, keep it up, man.
Thanks, man.
you know,
Appreciate
well,
it.
well, listen, I mean, people have to look up, right? We're talking about health, that they got to look like, hey, what is the secret sauce? I mean, the secret sauce, you got to do, what you have to do and keep healthy and learn about how, you can navigate, the crazy world. Because I think the food today is bad. The
Yeah.
the way we eat is bad. The way we do things is bad. I mean, we're rushing, we're stressing. All these things are bad for you. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. Well, let me just read right on the back of my book here. The opening paragraph says, "We live in a fast paced, high stress, toxic world ruled by a food industry that's poisoning us," which is true, "and a medical system that profits from suppressing symptoms rather than preventing and curing disease." So that's what my book's all about. The first, there's a lot of things in the world that aren't right. And I think a lot of people can recognize these things and they go, well, that industry doesn't seem to have the best interests at heart for the individual. And big pharma has that, they have that um, reputation where a lot of people just they identify and they see, well, big pharma doesn't really care about me. They're just trying to push a lot of drugs and hide some symptoms and keep me on drugs for the rest of my life. And some of the people listening to this podcast may be feeling that they might be on 5 different medications. Or I had a family member, he was on anti-anxiety medication, and he had been on psychiatric medications for over 40 years, but they weren't helping him. Like they weren't curing the problem, that's for sure. In fact, this individual was one of the most anxious persons I've ever met. And yet they're taking anti-anxiety medication every day. So clearly it's not curing people. And at best, it's hiding a symptom or suppressing a symptom. But like I said, if you can heal your gut, just as one example, then your whole mental and emotional outlook can really shift drastically within a matter of a few weeks. And so in chapter 1, I explain how to clean out your colon and your bowels. A lot of people have constipation issues. And if you're constipated, you're not getting the most toxic substance in your body, which is in your colon. You're not clearing that out. And until you actually get your bowels moving properly, any further detoxification protocol that you do can cause you adverse reactions. If you're releasing toxins from your liver, for instance, and is not getting out through your colon and your sweat and your urine, then you're going to feel more toxicity in your body. You can get headaches, you can get flu symptoms. So in chapter 1, I just set the tone. Okay, here's how to get make sure you're having regular bowel movements. This is just basic stuff. And in chapter 2, I go into detail about flooding your body with oxygen. There's a great book by a guy named Ed McCabe. He's sold hundreds of thousands of copies, called Flood Your Body with Oxygen. And it explains in that chapter how simple it is to raise the amount of oxygen in your body. And when you have your body in a high oxygen state, your energy levels are better and you're much more resistant to disease and all positive benefits. And then I go into details about how to detoxify the rest of your body, how to clean out your liver, how to clean out your kidneys, how to clean out the fat in your body. A lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of toxins these days are actually petrochemical based. So they are fat soluble. They're not water soluble, and fat soluble toxins will accumulate in the fatty tissue of your body. So it's really important to lose fat, but also to detoxify the fat that you do have. And I go into great detail about that. And although it may not look like it, I've struggled with my own weight over the years. I found out about a year ago that my testosterone level was quite low. I think somewhere around 390 it's not nearly like where you want to be as a healthy adult male. You want to be closer to 1,000 on that range of testosterone. And so there's different things you can do to boost your testosterone. Like any men who are listening to this right now, if you haven't had your testosterone levels checked out, that alone can be contributing to how you're feeling and anxiety and these types of emotional feelings. So there's just so many things that fit together. And if you understand how they fit together and you can explain those things in a very simple fashion so people understand them, I think a problem with a lot of experts today, and especially the medical industry, is they talk in terms of Latin terminology. They call diseases, they put a Latin name on it, and they make it confusing for people. So they don't really understand what the heck's talking about. In my book, I really simplify things. I use analogies. I compare things to automobiles, like make it really easy for people to grasp these concepts, because the truth is, like, making something complicated is not the solution. If you can make things simple and make it so people can walk the path and get the results, that's really what you want to do. And that's what I've done in this book. And that's why I want to share this with the audience.
Well, thank you. It's funny. I didn't read the book, folks, literally. So when I made that statement, I didn't know that was actually where your back of the book, had in terms of a quote there. But it is true. You're right. I mean, so here's the thing. Listen, I mean, there is somehow a place, I guess, to modern medicine. And the reason I say that is that something happens, an emergency, you go to the hospital. I mean, they do fix you up. I mean, they do take care of that business right away. But again, that's just like a band-aid, right? You want to get, fixed, and then you want to go back and find out what the hell happened to get you to that point, and then potentially prevent that from ever occurring again. That's really it. But you're right. The industries are the industries. They're in for, the profits. I mean, everybody is making money in this world. I mean, we're a capitalist, world today, and we have to make, enough profits. And everybody thinks it's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when it does touch on our health and stuff like that, we have to be conscious. The industries can do what they have to do. We have to do what we have to do as consumers. And one of the things that we have to do is really do the research, learn about how to, benefit our own bodies correctly, and navigate the system that is somehow, I want to say corrupt, but it's not really optimum. Optimum, I would say. Now,
Right.
on that same note, you mentioned something about the pharma. I mean, again, pharma creates these medications. They do fix things, temporary. I mean, basically, they suppress, as you said, they suppress the symptoms. You don't feel. That's the thing. We know we're sick because we have symptoms. You don't have the symptoms. You basically are blind to whatever it is. You're numb to them. But the problem and the damage continues and continues. Unless you do something about it, it's not going to change. Now, you mentioned earlier naturopath, research, and you went to that path. And that is that. I mean, naturopath, and holistic and, ancient, medicine and old and Eastern medicine, those things have existed for centuries. And they are actually the base of today's modern science and medicine. But they were a little different because there was a lot of herbs and things like that, and they actually made a difference into people's health till today. I mean, to the last
Right.
century, right? So they worked then, they still work now. We just are not really pushed on that direction. We are pushed more into like, hey, you're sick, get some pills, right? And that's all there is. Now, even the pills, there's a lot of herbs in them and things, but there's synthetic stuff, there's chemicals, and there's addiction, added to it, and there's other things because it makes sense to actually be addicted to something. And again, pharma is pharma; they're going to do their thing. But we, as consumers, we just have to know the difference and what to do. And you mentioned something about like testosterone. I mean, that's
Mhm.
for hormones for male and female are important, and for guys specifically, testosterone is our main thing, right? And as that thing drops, we feel a lot of stuff. Listen, I
Right.
hear you, I feel you, I know what that is, and we have
Mhm.
to be conscious about it. And again, the show I just mentioned earlier, we talked about the hormones and how, you know, some tweaks literally can make a difference in the amount of things and also the prevention that you can have from getting bad outcomes and diseases and things like that. So it's really important to actually understand those things. And you're right, by doing the good stuff, by taking the right steps to cleanse your colon and where the
Mhm.
gut, and all the real stuff is happening, it makes a difference. Now, someone can be literally critical, Craig, and says, "Well, Craig, you're not a doctor, so what gives? Why did you go into this route?" So what would you tell them?
Well, I kind of joke about it, but it's actually not a laughing matter. But medical malpractice is actually the third leading cause of death in the United States, right behind heart disease and cancer. And if doctors actually knew how to deal with heart disease and cancer, those rates would be a lot lower, which might even put doctors and their malpractice at number one. But arguably they are a cause of death. The statistics show that at least. So, yes, I do not have a medical background and I'm not a doctor. I'm not a massage therapist. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm just a dude who got really sick when he was 21 years old and was just on a path. I was the wounded healer. I just had to figure out, how am I going to solve this problem? How am I going to take control of my life and find the solutions? And what I mentioned in the book, and I've spent 3 decades and over $1 million traveling the world, researching, cutting edge performance enhancing and health enhancing technologies. So, for instance, just on the topic of oxygen, there's a treatment called EBO rather, EBOO. And I used to go down to Mexico 15 years ago to get this treatment. It's almost like dialysis, where they put a catheter in one arm and a catheter in the other, and your blood's circulating through a closed loop system, and it's getting infused with ozone gas and then going through a filter. And so your blood comes out a dark purple color, just like in a vein. It's coming out through a vein, and it's getting super oxygenated, and it's going through a filter to clean up any kind of garbage that's in your blood and going back in the other arm. And you keep doing that until the blood coming out is the same color as the blood going back in, which takes about an hour. But at that point, your body is like, your blood is so super saturated with oxygen. There's just nothing else that will get you into that level. On top of that, ozone gas, because it's an activated oxygen, it actually kills parasites, bacteria, anything that's in your blood that's not supposed to be there, viruses, and then it's going through this filter. Anyway, the bottom line is this has now become a little bit more common in the United States. In fact, here in Clearwater, Florida, where I live, there's two doctors and two different clinics that actually have it in the United States. But I had to go to Mexico 15 years ago to actually get this because no one was willing to take that risk in the United States because, as far as I know, it's not even FDA approved to date in the United States. So I think these doctors are actually taking a bit of risk offering it in the United States presently. But the bottom line is that I'm a guy who's just found what's true and what worked, and I've shared that like with other people. And I'm not trying to tell people this is the way it is. I say here's an affordable, easy solution. Try it for yourself. It's very safe. It's not going to put you at risk, and see if you get the same results as I've got and thousands of other people who have done this. For instance, type 2 diabetes is rampant these days, insulin sensitivity or insulin resistance rather. And all these things can be reversed through diet. And there's just so many encouraging things. Right now, the whole field of peptides, I don't know, a lot of people have heard of collagen peptides because they can help with your skin. But there's, dozens of different peptides that have very specific purposes. Some that are actually like insulin, for instance, is the first mass marketed peptide. And that's a peptide is just a amino acid chain, a small amino acid chain, but they have profound effects in the body. So insulin, obviously, we all know insulin has a profound effect in the body. But nowadays, there's weight loss peptides. In fact, Ozempic and Wegovy. There's one called Monjaro and others that are helping people lose, 100 pounds of body weight over the course of a year. It's like profound. And yes, they do get, there are adverse effects and symptoms. And in my book, I explain, okay, well, there are ways of reducing those symptoms and maybe even avoiding those symptoms. Like, for instance, a lot of people are concerned about losing body, like muscle mass when they lose weight. In the book, I explain, well, here's the things you can do to avoid losing muscle mass when you're losing weight. Obviously, protein is important, but a lot of people don't realize if your microbiome or your gut is not in a healthy state, you're not going to absorb the protein that you are consuming. In fact, a lot of people's stomachs don't have enough acidity in them or enough enzymes actually to break down those proteins into usable amino acids. So by supplementing with a product called essential amino acids, you can actually give your body the building blocks it needs to maintain muscle while you're losing fat. And then obviously exercise is important also, but there's just so many things a person can do. And you don't have to beat yourself up. And we all fall off the wagon now and then and have like a binge eating moment. But, you know, I think the biggest important thing to do is just not beat yourself up and just get back on the wagon. Like, just keep moving forward. We're all make mistakes. We'll learn from those things. And just over time, just start doing more and more things right and fewer things wrong. And your health is going to be so good. You're going to feel so good about yourself, and you're going to start influencing others as well. And that's what I encourage people. Like, the last chapter in the book is called Pay It Forward. There was a great movie, I don't know, maybe even 20 years ago now, called Pay It Forward. And it was all the concept about when you get a good thing done to you, like someone does you a favor, not to try and pay the person back that did the favor for you, but to pay it forward to at least three other people.
Yep.
And I just think that's so powerful, especially right now in the state that the world's in right now and how sick people are, that if we just get the information out there that will help people and you share that with other people, like, things are going to turn around quickly. And the nice thing about these alternative medicine approaches is a lot of them are really affordable, and some of them you can do at home and you don't even have to buy expensive products to do them. Like, in the book, I explain how to do a 24-hour liver flush that will remove years of toxins from your liver. And you don't have to buy anything special for that. Everyone's got the stuff they need already in their house right now. It's incredible.
Well, thank you. And you've touched on quite a bit there. And one of them that you just talked about, first of all, yeah, the statistic about the malpractice. I mean, listen, I mean, I get it. I mean, humans are humans no matter what they know. I mean, there's always a risk, right, that we can
Mhm.
make the mistake. So I get it, like to a degree. Now, of course, anyone that's been afflicted with malpractice would not be very happy about, the outcomes. But certainly there is that factor, and no doctor will ever tell you like we're 100% guaranteeing this particular procedure. They give you the risks, and then you take a decision. But you're right. Sometimes it's error. A human error happens, and it's really sometimes. Listen, I'll give you a true story. This has actually happened to my mother. 17 years ago, she had a gallbladder, infection, and they said, "Oh, we're going to rush her to do surgery," and they did take her in. The next day, she was in surgery, and the report stated that she got the gallbladder removed. Everything was good. They cleaned it, and there's a whole descriptive of all that. 7 years later, we go to do what do you call a sonogram, for just some other stuff in the belly, and the lady there, she's like, "What's that scar about?" I was like, "Oh, she removed her gallbladder." I was like, "Well, the gallbladder is nice where it is. It's still there."
Wow, really?
Yeah. So I'm like, what the hell? And so obviously, it was 7 years later. There's nothing we could do about it. I mean, other than reporting it. But just to tell you, like, now when you argue about this, they say, well, whatever it was, they opened her up, they fixed it. She was still, she was better after that, and she's good. But what I was told is that it was removed, it was cleaned, it was all this. You could have told me like, well, there was nothing. We kept everything there, and that's all there is. Well, sorry, we opened her up, but nobody did that, right? So I can tell you, like, this shit, happens, and I'm using the S word here, but the fact of the matter, it happened, and but like I learned that lesson the hard way, years later. So I can tell people, like, if you go through surgery, go through process, make sure you do due diligence, do the follow ups, make sure that there's nothing that is adverse that can be, I mean, either that or she's a miracle of, humanity, where her gallbladder just reformed again, and was reborn again in her body. It's probably far fetched, but that's actually the other option, the other scenario that's possible here. But so that's really, so I can tell you these things do happen, and it's a pain. Now if you're within your statute or limitations period, you can do all your lawsuits and stuff, and there's plenty of lawyers out there that can take care of business. But typically, you're out of luck if time goes up. I mean, other than then you go to the med board and and complain and just write an article, get some people just to be aware, or talk about it in a show just like this. So it took me a few years to have my own network, and now I can talk about it freely. But really,
Hmm.
that's really what it is. So that's an example. But on the flip side, I mean, listen, I don't think doctors go to the medicine in a bad way. They want to help and stuff, but
I agree.
they're confined to whatever they're being taught. They're confined to the resources. Now, of course, we've advanced quite a bit, but you're right. Medicine and drugs and all this stuff is all tied in, and the drugs kind of like listen. My mom just came out of the hospital literally last Saturday. We were there for 12 days, and they pumped her with all kind of stuff. Now I can tell you the way she went in without those meds and stuff, she could have passed on right there. And so luckily those things did work for her to help her get better, but they're not, again, solving the main problem that caused everything else. So we still got to do what we have to do. So it is a very unique situation where we have to look at the positive and negative of both sides and see what we can do. But nothing is better than, as you said, is doing the research, finding the alternative stuff that you can complement and really know what you need to do to just maintain your body so you don't have to get into those situations. Now, my mom is much older, so obviously over decades, things do take a toll. She's been diabetic for 30 years. But you're right. If we can prevent diabetes, which is now becoming more and more relevant at a younger age, I mean,
Hmm.
it's statistically unbearable. I mean, to hear those numbers, and early as teenagers now getting some serious diabetes up front, which things didn't happen before. I mean, I just heard a friend of mine who just being diagnosed with diabetes right now. So it's kind of like crazy, because everything we have right now in the food and stuff, especially if you eat out and things like that, you're just there's so much carb, there's so much sugar, there's so much sodium, there's so much additives and things like that that are not really good for anything that we have now. Again, the good news is, and I love these shows because I get from the best, and one of the things that I learned is that, again, the two shows back, it was very eye opening that our system can do what it needs to do. We just got to give it a break. We just got to give it the tools to actually manage itself, and it is designed to actually repair itself. And
Right.
so as long as we know what those tools are, we can do it. And frankly, we just need to learn. The problem is there's not enough information. So I always think people such as yourself that actually taking the time and the money and really putting the work out to make a difference one way or the other. Now you may not be as a medical, person, but it doesn't matter. You're someone who actually did the research. So you're a researcher. You did your stuff because you wanted to share with the world what worked for you. And you know what? If it is valid, as it is, then why not? And people can vet that out. That's easy to do. And that's all there is. Now, what you mentioned is real, by the way, about the ozone. Because I years back, I had some cavity business, fixed, a long time ago, and I had the lead stuff, fillings, whatever those fillers,
Hmm.
right? So I selected a biodentist. So biodentists actually use ozone, treatment. So
Yeah.
so they have them in the States, and it's not the most practical, level of, I guess, dentistry or medicine at this point. I think, but it is available. It just, you have to look for it, and it's not for everybody. And well, it's for everybody if they want to, but most
Hmm.
people don't want to go there. But I did actually the treatment, and it's actually awesome stuff. And for my teen and stuff, it worked well. And you're right. It does actually. I've had discussions also about that and how it works in your body, and it cleanses your blood, and makes it pure and cleaner and
Hmm.
less detox and stuff like that. I mean, there's one thing actually, since you were talking about the transfusion or the actual what do you call it, the, I guess, the cleansing of the blood and
Yeah.
purifying it with ozone and oxygen. There's cupping. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
tried
I
cupping.
mentioned that in the book too.
It
I mentioned
works.
all kinds of ozone. There's a whole chapter. Chapter two is all about flooding your body with oxygen. For instance, a lot of people have heard of hyperbaric
Yes.
oxygen chambers, right? And that got popularized by athletes, like pro athletes, when they need to repair, you know, injuries. They would use, and probably still do use, hyperbaric oxygen because it helps super saturate your body with oxygen and helps things heal faster. And then a lot of people are familiar with hydrogen peroxide also. And all that is a water molecule with an extra oxygen atom. So instead of H2O, it's H2O2. And that extra oxygen atom becomes highly reactive because obviously water is a very stable substance. And we all like, if you've ever poured hydrogen peroxide on a cut, because like it's a first, you'll find it in first aid kits sometimes. And what happens is that extra oxygen atom reacts with any kind of bacteria, any kind of it knocks out, it sterilizes things basically, right? But what most people don't realize is your immune system actually releases its own hydrogen peroxide in your blood as its first line of defense. In fact, your white blood cells generate hydrogen peroxide. So when you have some sort of foreign um, substance in your body, like a bacteria that it needs to knock out, and your system recognizes it, it will actually release hydrogen peroxide to handle that. So you can actually do intravenous hydrogen peroxide, and there's just all these wonderful treatments. You mentioned cupping. I have my own ozone generator at home, and people can actually take ozone intravenously. Believe it or not, you can actually inject the ozone gas directly into a vein. And in Ed McCabe's book, Flood Your Body with Oxygen, he explains how people with AIDS have actually reversed and eliminated their symptoms of AIDS using that technique. And in fact, he mentions many cases in Africa of people getting rid of their AIDS symptoms simply by drinking water with hydrogen peroxide in it. So, and that costs pennies a day. Like it's so inexpensive. This is the kind of stuff that the drug industry doesn't want you to know because it conflicts with their profit center. And quite frankly, like you touched on, I think most doctors are well intentioned. I believe they're good people and they want to help people. I just feel that the whole industry has been corrupted, and I don't know what decade it was, but the Rockefeller family came in and they had a lot of money, and they're obviously tied in with the oil industry. And that's when they basically started running propaganda against natural medicine and homeopathy and these things that really have been used for centuries in helping people. And they basically shifted things and then started educating people, like doctors in colleges and universities, saying, "Oh no, this stuff over here that's been working for centuries, we don't do that anymore. What we do is we cut people open, we remove body parts, which is called surgery, and we
Depends. They
pump
might
them
not
full of
even remove
drugs."
them
Right. Yeah,
in
you
the
don't
case
have
of
a
my mom.
problem if we get rid of that gallbladder. Obviously, your gallbladder can't cause any more problems. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Well, why don't we just fix the gallbladder? And there's ways to do that. In fact, this 24-hour liver flush that I mentioned actually will help cleanse the gallbladder itself. And then I don't know, there's just so many things that are in this book. I even talk about pain. Like a lot of people deal with pain in your neck, pain in your back. So a lot of people have pain in their knees, hips, lower back, you name it. And I cover all that stuff in the book. It's not difficult. And it's like now I live a pain-free life. And, 30 years ago, I was in chronic pain every day. So how is that 3 decades later, a lot of people get more pain as they get older, right?
That's what I
And
was gonna say. 30
yeah,
years, you were younger. You're supposed to have less, and as you get older, you get more. And now it's the reverse for you. But again, you've done the work
right.
to help your body kind of be better and function
Right.
optimally.
And now there's these peptides, and I'll throw a couple of acronyms. One peptide is called BPC 157, and that's just a code for that peptide. Again, a peptide is just a small amino acid chain. But this peptide, BPC 157, is known to help heal people's injuries. I know two guys who are friends of mine who had chronic shoulder injuries. One guy got injured in high school playing baseball, He couldn't lift his arm above horizontal. Like he did not have a full range of motion. And within a month of using BPC 157, all his pain was gone. He had full range of motion back. And that's just a peptide. And it's like, I don't think the drug industry can actually patent that because it's been around already. So, and I think like even like the ones that do weight loss, like the peptides, they're called Ozempic and Wegovy, those treat diabetes and obesity respectively. But all they are is a peptide called semaglutide or semaglutide, depending on how you want to pronounce it.
Mhm.
And as far as I know, I don't think that Wegovy and Ozempic actually changed anything about the molecule itself. I think what they changed was the delivery system. I'm not sure if they're patented or not, but they did get FDA approval for obesity and weight loss. Obesity and diabetes. But their delivery system is in a pen, like a cartridge in a pen,
Mhm.
instead of using a syringe. So um, that could be just the point that they've patented or protected in some way, or just the fact that they're the only ones that have gotten permission from the FDA to sell these things. But it's multi-billion-dollar industry, and the amount of appetite suppression you get when you take semaglutide or semaglutide is just incredible. Like, and it makes intermittent fasting super easy. You touched on something earlier about giving your body a break, an opportunity to heal. In fact, I'm not saying people should go out and get onto semaglutide to lose weight or handle their diabetes, but if they started doing intermittent fasting and if they were only eating for 16 hours a day, sorry, if they're fasting for 16 hours a day and eating for 8 hours within the day minimally, or ideally even a smaller window of time, your body gets a little bit of a time to repair itself and heal. And I know many people that have lost a lot of weight just through intermittent fasting. And obviously, if they avoid a lot of carbohydrates, that can make things easier as well. A friend of mine, his name is Dr. William Davis. He wrote a best-selling book, New York Times best-selling author. He came up, he came down to Florida a few weeks ago for my 50th birthday, and he actually wrote a book series called Wheat Belly, and he explained how wheat is really driving people's diabetes problems, weight problems, and just avoiding wheat, how important that is. And what he found was as though just avoiding wheat was enough to solve the problems for a lot of people, but some people they really had to take that next step to really handle their gut microbiome. So he went into great research and he wrote a book called Super Gut, and in that book, he explains how to use probiotics. And not just that, but he would take a single capsule of probiotics, put it into half and half cream, put in something called inulin. And inulin is a prebiotic. A prebiotic is what probiotics eat and feed on. So basically, he would take 2 tablespoons of inulin and he would take one probiotic capsule and put it in a quart of half and half dairy and then put it in a yogurt maker and let it ferment for 36 hours. Now, most yogurt that you get in a store is only fermented for about 6 to 8 hours maximum. And they only have some pretty standard probiotic species or strains. So he found, okay, well, there's all these different probiotic strains and species. And if we use these specific ones, they have different effects. And if we ferment them for 36 hours, you can take a capsule that might have 10 billion CFUs or units of probiotics and blow that up into trillions of live cultures in 36 hours. And not just that. So one, A, it's way stronger than what you would take through a capsule. And then B, the next time you go to make a batch of probiotic yogurt, you can just take one serving, like 1 tablespoon or 2 tablespoons, put that in and use it as a yogurt starter. So you don't even have to buy more probiotics every month. You just start using your own probiotics and reculturing them. And he's found that people lose weight with this. Their skin improves and the wrinkles improve. Their oxytocin levels, which is the love hormone, it gives you feelings of empathy. And those things raise by using this specific probiotic species called L. reuteri. And that's his favorite one. And I read this book, Super Gut, by him, and I got inspired. And I was like, I'm going to make a probiotic yogurt maker. I'm going to make the best one on the market. So right now, if you go to Amazon and you type in probiotic yogurt maker, you'll notice that the ultimate probiotic yogurt maker, which is my product, is the number one bestseller. And that's because we're just so excited about this and it does so much for people's health. And it's not expensive. So you can save money. You don't have to buy expensive probiotics again and again and again. And it's way stronger and it's kind of fun and it tastes good too.
Well, it's funny. I was just going to ask you about it, because that's like ultimately, one of the pieces that you worked on, and it's an interesting. But I love the breakdown of how it all started, and the probiotics. I mean, everybody knows that you want probiotics for your body, so this way you can lose your constipation, your system, your guts work better, and the stuff is working. But really, you gave a good, I guess, reference to your friend's book, and how he did the research, and what he used exactly to do this ultimately inspired you to create a, a yogurt maker. Now here's the good news. So here's the thing. I mean, the true fact is, like my mom now, because they found that she has a respiratory aspiration uh, problem, so she aspires, and now they have her own nectar diet, so she cannot have fluid liquid, with food and things like that. Only after cleaning her mouth and stuff, she can have water in particular sips and things like that, or in ice. So yogurt is actually recommended. So this is actually perfect for her. And frankly, finding the right, she's diabetic, finding the right yogurt that is sugar free and stuff like that is a pain, and you don't get really the best of the best. So maybe this is going to be a good way for us to create our own at home, and help her stay healthy and stuff. And I love what you said. You get the prebiotics and the probiotics, and this way you feed it and you get it to enrich itself. And and again, you can, to your point, you can ferment yourself and do it at home. Why not? I mean, homemade stuff is always the best, right? I mean, that's just a fact. It's historic, right? It's just the way it is. But I want to go back to, you touch on the fasting, right? Listen, I mean,
Mhm.
I've grown with fasting. I mean, religiously. I mean, in our belief, we do fast 30 days. We just finished a month 2 weeks ago. So 30 days of
Wow.
of fasting. Well, it's about 14, 15 hours fasting a day. So it actually, believe me, you start the month, in a bad shape, and you finish the month in a good shape. It never
Wow.
fails. It never fails. I mean, it's just, and a lot of people do this continuously, and it is now common with that religious, aspect. And it's been in all religions, by the way. This is not a religious show, but if you look at every predominant or dominant religion of the world, they all have some sort of fasting, prescribed from 5,000 years ago. So it is, it's just, we're just catching up to the level of where we need to be. So it's an interesting stuff. But you're right. You give that system, time to rest, just like sleeping, right? You need sleeping so the body can,
Mhm.
the brain shuts down, everything is cool, and then it gets to restore. Well, same thing. You can't be eating 24/7 and just shoving stuff in, and your liver is overwhelmed. Everything is like tired. But you give it a break. I mean, things can happen. You add some good stuff, some good diet, and things like that. It's over. But I mean, it's unfortunate, but we just got into different habits. And frankly, I mean, I have to struggle with my kids every day now, like to find the right food for them, all the stuff, because and it's hard to find good food. That's really the fact now. I mean, you want to buy vegetables and stuff, good luck. I mean, you can, but are they really, GMO? Are they not GMO? Are they seasonal? Are they not seasonal? That's always a question. So you got to do more work, and it's more costly to actually get stuff that is healthier. Then you have the dilemma that if you eat outside, there's high sodium, high sugar, high this, high that. Everything is packed. I mean, listen, you go to a restaurant. I mean, I was just having this conversation with a bunch of my friends yesterday, and you know, I do have like a restaurant depot, membership. So I go there and I buy stuff that we need. But a lot of stuff that restaurants use is really just in a can or in a box. It's really pre-made. So it's not like it's freshly made. Yeah, the cooking is freshly made. They cut stuff, but the ingredients are still coming from a pack that is, preservatives and all the stuff there, for a couple of years. So at the end of the day, you eating out. I'm not against eating out, but you just have to be selective of what you eat and what to get from the menu. But a lot of the stuff is really not as fresh as you think. So
Mhm.
again, it's just buyer beware, right? You have to know your stuff. You got to do your due diligence. Caveat emptor, right? That's the Latin for it, right? So do your thing, do your due diligence, and make sure that you know what you're getting in your body. Fast food, that's another one. There is no good news about fast food other than it's fast food. I mean, it's good. It fixes the problem when you're running, somewhere. But if you do that every day, I mean, listen, I'm not, we all cheat, right? you get that little day where you're like, whatever, like true story. I mean, I call McDonald's, and no offense, McDonald's, but I call them emergency food. So when I'm stuck somewhere in the world, literally, overseas and I can't find anything, I just go to McDonald's. And the reason I do it is just because I know what it is. I know if I get, sick, I know who to go to, because you can't go somewhere in the world that, you're not going to go against any company that you don't know. At least I know who they are. So I ate this, I have a receipt. This made me, sick. Then I can go after you. But that's like, the concept, right? But really, it does taste good. I mean, let's call it for what it
Yes.
is. But it's not really the healthiest stuff, and it's certainly not something you want to build your diet on. But our kids today are doing that. I
Right.
mean, pizza, mac and cheese,
Mhm.
I don't know, nuggets that are not nuggets. I mean, you read the label, it says chicken is like 10%, and everything else is not chicken. I mean, what kind of
Wow.
chicken is 10%? I mean, it should be all chicken, right? I mean, guys, whatever we're talking about is not, rocket science. This is real, folks. You see it, you hear it, it's actually happening. Just have to read. We don't have to tell you what it is. You already know. And if you don't, please do the research because it is your health. After all, right? Ultimate health is your. I love what you said. Break free from your health
Health
issues and
issues.
live
Your
your
best
best
life.
life.
Let's go.
That's all there is, right?
Exactly. And yeah, obviously health food is not something that a lot of people crave initially. And what I want to encourage people to know is that if you start implementing things like intermittent fasting and uh, you know, according to the Bible, Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights.
There you
So
go.
holy smokes, that would take a lot of self-control, wouldn't it? And
It's
he probably
real.
came out the other side feeling pretty good after,
Another feeling. I just did 30 days, so I know.
I personally have not done a multi-day fast, but I would like to. And maybe we could do a challenge and there's apps and Facebook groups, and you can surround yourself with other people. Like I belong to a whole bunch of groups on Facebook where people are doing healthy things, and like I belong to groups where people are using peptides to improve their health, for instance. And what I want to encourage people to know is that you might have cravings. Like when you have a lot of candida yeast in your system, and you have parasites and you have bacterial overgrowth in your small intestines, these things in themselves actually cause and contribute to feelings of cravings. So when you take something that knocks out the bad bacteria without killing all the good bacteria and knocks out the fungus like the yeast and the candida without disturbing the good bacteria, and then you start taking the good probiotics and you start taking things that calm down and soothe your stomach, and you find out, for instance, what foods are you sensitive to, not violently allergic to, but sensitive to. And there's a simple blood test called ImuPro, IMO, no, IMUPRO, ImuPro. And you can do this blood test. You don't even need a doctor's prescription for it. It will show you all the foods that you are sensitive to. And if you just knock those out for a while, your body it doesn't cause that inflammation in your body, and your body can actually calm down and heal. And then what I want people to know is that you may not crave, you know, vegetables, fresh vegetables right now, but as your body gets more healthy, you start craving more of those foods and less of the bad foods. And you don't need a bag of chips or ice cream to feel good. You might have a small serving of half and half probiotic yogurt. And I put flavored stevia in it. I've got about 6 different flavored stevias that I put in there. So, you get that yummy flavor, like a cherry, chocolate, butterscotch, all these different flavors, maple flavor. And it's almost like an ice cream, but it's healthy for you. It's actually doing good things for your body. It doesn't have all that crap that ice cream does in the store. And then also, I don't crave chips and all that crap because my body's healthy and I like actually eating good food. And your audience is going to find that too. If they can just turn the corner right now, pick up a copy of my book. You can download it in the Kindle store for I think $3.99. I mean, you can't even buy a McDonald's meal for
Not
$3.99.
even a cup of coffee, man.
Exactly. So go to Amazon.com, look for Ultimate Health Book or Craig Brockie, and download the book. Start flipping through this thing on you can read a Kindle device. So you can read a Kindle book on your iPhone, your Samsung, on your computer. a tablet. You don't need to have a Kindle device to read this book. I want this knowledge to be with everybody so you can start feeling healthy, start feeling happy. I want you to help others. I want you to help your mother and your father and your children. I want kids to stop, looking at their cell phone all the time. Have you noticed how bad people's posture is these days? They're looking down at their cell phone all the time and they're getting this terrible posture
Don't
and they're
get me
getting
started.
sore necks. They actually call it tech neck. I talk about that in the book. I say, we got to turn this around. People, it's as simple when you're looking at your phone, hold your phone up more at eye level so you're not looking down. People might think, well, why are you looking at your phone like this? Well, because you don't want to ruin your neck. Right now, when I'm looking at my computer, I'm not looking down at my monitor. I'm looking at eye level because it helps
Yeah.
keep my posture upright. I've got a sit stand desk. I've got a hydraulic desk right now. If I want to stand up, I can stand up. Like there's simple solutions, people. It doesn't have to be complicated, and you can turn your health around. And I want you to do that. I'm here to be your guide to turn your life around and the lives of everyone around you. And I know you can do it. It's not expensive. It's super easy. You don't have to get hundreds of dollars of supplements every month to turn your life around. You can take something as simple as apple cider vinegar that's raw, it's not been pasteurized, and you take that before a meal, and that helps make your stomach more acid. It's got enzymes in it. And the other thing is, I don't want you drinking a lot of liquid when you're eating food because it dilutes your digestive
Acid, yeah.
enzymes and your stomach acid. Basically, you need your stomach to be highly acidic and loaded with enzymes so that you can actually break down your food properly. So, and these are just simple things that I cover in the book. I even talk about foot pain. A lot of people have fallen arches these days where they have something called pronation where their ankles kind of roll in and it puts a lot of strain on their knees and lower back. Like these things, there's simple solutions to these things. And I wish I knew this stuff 30 years ago because I wouldn't have all these, I wouldn't have had those problems. I took antibiotics in high school to handle acne and it just ruined me. It killed all the good bacteria in my body. Like I got leaky gut, candida overgrowth, just totally destroyed me. And how many people out there watching this right now have health issues? I would guess most of you guys listening to this right now has some nagging health issue that's just bugging the shit out of you. And you're like, if I could just get rid of this one thing, I'd be so much happier. Well, for $3.99, give it a read because I'm pretty sure that we can find a solution for you. And I'd love for you to break free from that health issue and live your best life.
Well, Greg, thank you. And there's a couple of things you stated. One, I mean, when you said, go back to your early days where you kind of ruined it and you had all those bad things. Well, it's funny because unfortunately, that's I kind of started early on the discussion. At that age, we do everything. We have fun, right? We do the stuff and we eat what we want and stuff. And we also like stubborn because we don't want to listen to
Right.
advice. We just, we got this. My body is got to, you can't tell me what to do with my body, right? And again, I'm telling you, I'm going through my younger, kids, in that stage right now. And it is, you can see that they having problems, but they have to be aware. Now, you only got aware when things got hairy for you, but then you took the necessary step. Now, not everybody does what you did, by the way. Sometimes they'll go, but I've had quite a few cases of people who had actually had the same concept, same issues. They really figured it out and they're doing a terrific job years later, decades later. And that's the thing. I always make this statement. There's two ways to live life, folks. To live. One, live, a longer life, healthier,
Mm-hmm.
or a longer life that is bad. And the other option would be that we don't live. I mean, meaning that we expire, which can happen. But if that's the case, you're not going to worry about your health. You're worried about the next life. But when you live this world, you want to live the healthiest. I mean, listen, I've gone through this process with my mom last 2 weeks. It was brutal for her. It was brutal for us because I was with her at the hospital. Literally, I couldn't sleep for 12 days. I was getting like 2 hours sleep because in and out, people come in, check this, check that, all night long. And, it's not the right scenario. You're not getting good hydration, good food and stuff. I mean, although, trust me, I mean, the experience was good. I mean, they took so much good, care of her. But it is still not the best environment that you want to be. If you can avoid all that, that would be great. And if you can avoid even the reasons why you're going to the hospital in the first place, that's all. So our thing is just to prevent, whatever potential risk that you can have in life. And that's really it. That's what we are, iHealth Radio and the iHealth channel. Again, just as a statement, I always say we had the weather channel. We don't have a health channel. And so this was the reason, the premise why I started this 4 years ago. And, and I believe in what we do in our mission because we just sharing information, folks. It is up to you to take it, or not. That we're not forcing this information on anyone. But if you are curious enough, I mean, just to see what it looks like to feel better and stuff, you know what to do. We talk fitness, we took nutrition, we took health, we took, all the good stuff for you. You talked about peptides and amino acids. I'm going to give you a true story also in my own life. So when I was in college, we were partying, going crazy. And around time of the exam, I used to feel really bad and I couldn't really focus and stuff. And I actually started buying amino acid, this was overseas and they have these little, it's like bottles that are ready and you just kind of break them and put them in water and drink them.
Hmm.
I can tell you when I started doing that, my brain was functioning much better. I was able to focus. I was able to, to really absorb information and really go through the whole thing. And it worked well. Amino acids actually are really blocks of of what we need in life,
Yeah.
and they do work. It's not a joke. And talking proteins and all these things, when you break it down, it goes back to again to the amino acid stuff, and it is amazing, stuff, and it's available. You just got to know what to take. Talked about specific ones that can make a difference. But we don't know unless we do the research or at least hear about it. So at least we share the information. Do your due diligence, do your research. I again, one thing also I want to just make a statement, Craig. It's funny because we talked about the pharma and stuff. What last week my YouTube channel was terminated.
Wow.
Well, I mean, we have a new one, but the original one got terminated because we put it a feedback to our podcast, and so the shows were not curated. So our podcasts are pretty solid, and some of them actually go to the extent and the extreme of maybe not the common discussion about medicine stuff. So they actually, we didn't meet the guidelines, and so they actually terminated the channel because
Wow.
some of the content was just to not meeting their guidelines, right? So I don't have to go further that. I mean, we've
Well,
we've
hopefully I
had
haven't said anything that's going to terminate your channel.
no, no. Well, but you know what I'm saying? Like so. And by the way, we are always keen on making sure that the ones that we fed in the YouTube were the cleaner one and not really on the extreme side. But on the podcast, it's on the radio, so it's really just a feed from our radio. I didn't realize that actually was feeding there, and they noticed they caught those. So they were not videos; they were audios, but they are still caught, to the algorithm in, and caught those conversations, and three strikes and you're out. That's what they do. So when you say the right stuff, you might not be welcome in some of these platforms. That's why we create our own platform, and hopefully this will continue being bigger, bigger, and we have our own way and our voice. And again, we're not against anyone, but we do want to make sure that people have the information access. That's all there is. If someone wants to take the other information, take it, compete it, I don't know, do whatever we are. So there's just a quick thing, but because funny, because when you said that, I'm like, this is the stuff that these people don't want to, for us to hear. And
Right.
unfortunately, it is real. So again, iHealth Radio, listen all you want. Nobody's going to tell you otherwise. Whatever we broadcast, the podcast, all that, it's still the same. But it is. We live in a world that is somehow there's controls and things. So we got to play the diplomatic cards here and be, because we do want to convey the message. But really, this is the thing. Like we've heard that during the pandemic, we've seen that in social media where if you said something, it gets censored and things like that. It is still there. It's not going to go anywhere. When the show is a little too hairy, they get canned.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like weird, but it is the fact of life that we have today. So there is pros and cons, but we're gonna continue doing what we need to do the right way. Hopefully, we'll deliver the message. So I just wanted to share that because it's an interesting thing, like but you can't stop this conversation. This is the good stuff. I mean, I think people have the right to at least know. And whatever they make out of it, but some of these entities they don't want you. So,
Right. Well, I
yep,
admire you for having the courage to put out this type of information and give people a platform to share the truth about how to be healthy and whether that conflicts with vested interests that want to sell drugs and surgery. That's not going to make everybody happy. So our job is to make the everyday person feel happier and healthier, and that's what our purpose is. And if it comes with some unwanted repercussions, like a YouTube channel getting canceled, or worse than that, I know of some doctors that have had their licenses canceled, and
oh
they've
yeah,
had to leave the country to practice medicine because they were causing so much good and they're such a threat to the medical system. There's a great book called Cancer, The Forbidden Cures. You have to go to rumble.com to see it because I don't think YouTube would even let it on YouTube. But if you go to rumble.com, you watch Cancer, The Forbidden Cures, you'll see that. Like all these examples of cancer cures that were routine cancer cures, like not questionable, but like proven cancer cures get completely suppressed and the doctors thrown into like legal battles and chased out of the country. And it's just terrible. And one thing you touched on was amino acids. And I'm glad that you have had a good positive experience with them because I think that everybody should probably be taking essential amino acids currently until such time that they can get their digestion fully healed so that they're actually breaking down the proteins properly and actually getting the benefits of protein because protein is so important. And if you just take these essential amino acids, they are absorbed into your system within 20 to 30 minutes and you get those positive benefits of these essential amino acids. They are the building blocks for neurotransmitters. So you're saying how you would feel better. Well, a lot of people think of amino acids in terms of muscle and they think,
Mm.
oh, protein, muscle, amino acids. Well, amino acids are actually the building blocks for neurotransmitters. They're also the building blocks for enzymes. They're also the building blocks for hormones and peptides. And there's all these wonderful things that happen in your body that require protein and amino acids. So I actually, in full disclosure, I have my own product called Ultimate Essential Amino Acids, and they come in either tablets or drink powders. If you go to amazon.com/ultimate, our brand is called Ultimate because we don't do shitty stuff. We only do the best. So amazon.com/ultimate, you'll find all the products we have, and we have essential amino acids. These things are really, really important, especially if you're trying to lose weight or just repair your body and you have some sort of compromised digestion. And I think it's safe for most people to assume that you do have compromised digestion because if you have never done something to heal your gut and knock out the bacteria and fungus that's not supposed to be in there, and like there's something called Roundup. It's a
Ah,
pesticide called
mhm.
Roundup. That's the brand name. Its chemical name is glyphosate. And that stuff just ruins your gut. Antibiotics ruin your gut. The pill that women take for pregnancy to avoid pregnancy, that ruins your gut. And there's just all these things that just destroy your gut. Aspartame, artificial sweeteners, destroy your gut. People, please stop drinking
Right.
like artificial sweeteners and consuming that. Try to avoid packaged foods that are just laced with so many chemicals and try to eat more whole foods. I use a soda brand called Zevia, 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 and it's stevia flavored. I mean, it's sweetened with stevia, not aspartame. There's just, and I cover all kinds of healthy snacks that a person can take and here in this book. And these solutions are not expensive and they're going to help you. In fact, if you can heal your gut, it's likely that your hunger is going to reduce because you're actually absorbing the nutrients that your body is consuming and you're eating more nutritious foods. So you will probably, it's quite likely that you spend less on food because you're not feeling like you have to eat all the time and you have more control and you feel better and you're not having to buy shitty foods and feel bad about eating ice cream and binging and all that kind of crap because you just, as your body becomes healthier, you do crave healthier foods and you absorb more of the nutrients and your body repairs.
Thank you. And for me sharing, I was gonna ask about like where we can get some of the essentials. So we do have yours, and I'm assuming they're natural. They're not,
Mhm.
they you vetted out the products yourself, and so that's a good news, and we want that. And here's the thing. I mean, we talked about gut a lot, and if you're constipated, you know something's wrong, right?
Yeah,
if
if
you
you have
if
gas, flatulence, if you have
voting,
acid reflux, any one of those things, you know that something's wrong.
yep. Well, again, talking about the right amino acids and all the stuff, things get cleansed up, and your body is gonna flush out everything. You will be better. I mean, listen, that's what we want, the ultimate life, right? The ultimate health. I mean, you couldn't have possibly picked up a better, Tyler, I have to say.
Thanks,
It's
man.
just it's as a cliche as it comes, but it's really the real thing. I mean, who doesn't want ultimate health and optimal health?
Right.
And frankly, you've covered quite a bit, as you know, and I'm sure if we have a nutritionist, on the show, they'll agree with you, because I mean, I've had a few shows about it, and this is exactly what I've talked about. And anyone that is close to healthier lifestyles, will actually apply all the stuff that we've covered today with you, Craig, and that you shared with us. So it is really the ultimate goal for anyone, because I mean, we hear health is wealth. Well, you can't have wealth. You can have plenty of wealth, but if your health is gone, it's over. And actually, I always refer to Steve Jobs in one of his latest, or last, I guess, I don't know if it was a speech, but I think it was something that he wrote, and he kind of talked about, like, money in the world cannot, buy you your health when it's gone. No one can actually give you what you missed when your health, and that's really what it is. So money is great, folks. Wealth is great, but your health is ultimate, and no one lives forever. And everybody gets older, and eventually you will need some better health. But if you do a good job up front, listen, I'm in the 50s and I'm trying to do my best to keep up, to keep the momentum and do stuff, and it gets harder. But if you do the right tool, take the right tools, and do, and the right steps, it can get better for you, and you can still maintain. That's all. Again, I mean, listen. I've lived with my mom, for example, with diabetes, and shooting insulin and managing and doing this and doing that, and it's just too much work. That if you can avoid all that, please do. It is not a fun picnic. It's not like, this is going to be a cool thing. I'm going to deal with it. You will if you have to, but if you don't have to, don't get there. That's all. That's just my little 2 cents. And I'm no one. I have listen. I'm in the insurance space, so we cover people for all kind of illnesses and problems. And you know what? It gets for the healthcare system, it is a toll on the actual and financial burden on the system. And that's why insurances are expensive, everything is expensive, because these things really are actually. Now, if everybody's healthier, there's a good chance. Now, for the other topic, where are there needs for medications and stuff, there's always going to be a need of them. But if you can prevent to get sick, that's really it. We don't want to be in a sick concept. We want to be in a health concept. Now, if disease and sickness does happen, well, let's do what we have to do to get through it. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, the last chapter in my book is called Terminally Well. Okay.
I
A
like that.
lot of people talk about terminal illness and terminally ill, right? So in this chapter, I talk about how it is realistic for a person not only just to last and live a long time, but actually be healthy into those, you know, I think there's no reason why we can't be playing sports in our 80s and living to over 100. These are reasonable expectations. And there's a lot of longevity research in here and longevity solutions. I actually belong to a study right now where they routinely reverse your biological age or your genetic age by over 10 years and reduce your risk of any kind of disease drastically just by getting all your organs functioning properly, getting your DNA all optimized. And there's just all these exciting solutions right now. So as bleak as it might look at some point, when you look out in the world and you say, "Oh shit, things aren't going right now." Well, just know that there are so many things that are right now. And if we start doing all the right actions and we start helping each other and pulling together and helping each other become the best we can be, there's nothing that we can't achieve. And those illnesses and sicknesses and symptoms that you have right now, if we can just help you break free from those things, then you don't have the pain, you don't have these things dragging you down. You can start focusing on creating positive effects more because you're not dragged down by these problems. You're thinking about, what other solutions can we have, and how can we really turn things around? And I think we live in the most exciting time right now. I know that there's a lot of crappy stuff that's going on right now, and there's less than ideal things, but there's so many green shoots coming up right now. Like there's all these things sprouting up, and they're just about to become mainstream and really change people's lives. And that's why I'm so excited to share these things with people. Please, please, please go to Amazon. Only $3.99. Download a Kindle copy, read it on any device that you have, and just let me know how it works for you, because I really, truly want you to feel better. I want you to wake up in the morning full of energy, not needing coffee all day long and energy drinks, and not feeling anxiety and feeling worried all the time, not feeling depressed. And these are really, really realistic things to have. It's not outlandish. These are just how we're supposed to be this way. It's unnatural to feel sick. That's not how the body's designed. The body's designed to be healthy. And these solutions are not rocket science. They're very simple. I've made them very simple for people in this book. And these things are going to change your life. So give it a shot.
Well, thank you, Craig. So, question: is there an audio version of this in the
Right now,
works, or?
there's not yet an audio version. There's a Kindle version, paperback, and hardcover currently on Amazon.
And again, just because some people prefer probably the audio
Right.
version, but at least they can listen to a podcast. I'm sure you're doing a few of those, and I
Yeah.
mean, we've covered quite a bit, but definitely in the book has more. So so I'll have the link, where people can get the book, as well as the yogurt making machine. So now,
Thanks, man.
question on that. Now, does that come just the machine? Does it come with, like, the instructions, some recipes in the works?
Yeah.
Where to get all the ingredients?
Right. It comes with all the instructions that you need to make it successful. It does not come currently with the probiotics itself because there are so many different probiotics that have different purposes. So without knowing what a person wants to achieve, it's really hard to supply. You can't just give someone a probiotic. There's probiotics, for instance, that help lose weight. There's probiotics that help with pain and inflammation. There's probiotics that help get rid of bacterial overgrowth in your small intestines. There's others that help with your mood. There's others that suppress your appetite. So there's just so many different ways that you can approach probiotics. So what we do is we explain in a guide which ones do what and what temperature to culture them at, and then leave it up to the person to use whatever ones that they think they could use the most and what they would benefit from.
Yeah, you mentioned, like, you said half and half. Is that what you use as the
Yeah, half and half cream.
no milk?
Yeah, I mean whole milk also works as well. It's
Okay.
just it's this if you like a thick Greek yogurt, if you're someone who likes really thick yogurt, half and half dairy works the best. I always use organic, but whole milk also works out quite well. And if you don't do dairy, you should know that actually I had a friend that actually got rid of his dairy intolerance by actually using the yogurt maker with half and half dairy. And because it caused so many positive benefits in his gut that he was then able to handle dairy. And also, the fermentation process really breaks down the dairy stuff that irritates people. So you may find that you can actually handle a high probiotic dairy product. But if not, if you're vegan or if you really cannot handle dairy, uh, organic, like certified organic soy milk. I don't recommend people drink soy milk that's not fermented. In fact, non-fermented soy products have some detrimental effects that I don't recommend. But fermented soy, the process of fermentation breaks things down and makes them more easy for your body to process. So soy milk, organic, certified organic soy milk also makes a decent yogurt. In terms of nut milks and oat milks and stuff like that, they tend to come out really runny. And unless you use some sort of thickening agent, I don't think people are going to be happy with the results. But half and half dairy just is money. It's so good. And it's like ice cream. It's so thick and creamy.
I love it. Well, I don't believe in any other milk than natural milk. I'm sorry. I mean,
Yeah.
I think historically the only milk we knew is that came from mammals,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
not from nuts and stuff. So I mean, yeah, I get it. I mean, I call it more like juice, or
Right.
squeeze, but it's not really milk. But again, that's just me. But thank you for sharing that. And again, I
Yeah.
mean, the emphasis in organic, not pasteurized, whatever they call those things, and so that's not the good stuff. And again, even organic, you got to be, cautious about what you purchase, because I mean there's organic and organic. So
Right.
so that's also always something that to keep in mind. But either way, it will be much better. Now, you said 36 hours is the fermentation, so you start the process, and then every 36 hours it's ready, and then
Yeah.
you can always have a new
I mean,
batch.
you don't have to go for 36 hours, but that seems to be the optimal time if you want the maximum probiotic effect. Like if you want the strongest probiotics, 36 hours is the sweet spot we found for fermenting. So usually you start it right at night or first thing in the morning, because if you start it in the middle of the day, 36 hours is actually the middle of the night. So you kind of have to be cognizant of
Right.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So and so basically you prepare it, you have it, and I mean, obviously the quantity will be just enough for the the person or the people that you want to serve, and then that's the end of it. So if we were to do this as a family, based on 4 people, 3 people, whatever, and you'll be able to quantify what that is. You get it ready, you enjoy it as your dessert, or I mean, is that something also? Is that before food, after food? Does it
I
matter?
don't think it really matters. And you can, with one yogurt maker, you can make batches that are almost 2 quarts in size. You can use these four cup containers, like a glass Pyrex 4 cup container. We also sell the model with 4 cup containers in them, or with small jars. Some people prefer the small jars because they're really convenient to take on the go, or kids like. Honestly, I like consuming them from the small jars, but I like making them in the large containers more because it's a little less hassle making in the larger containers. But we offer it both ways, and you can eat it anytime that makes sense for you. Like, as long as those probiotics are getting into your gut on a daily basis, it's going to be a game changer, and you're going to be really happy about it.
And how long will they last in the fridge? Let's say, I mean, they're ready in
Uh,
36 hours. Can
I
they?
think a week or two easily. So
Oh, okay. So,
yeah,
so it's not like you don't have to consume right away. You can chill,
no, yeah, no. You put it
enjoy
in the
them.
fridge, and you just enjoy it. Maybe take half a cup a day, a serving per person.
I'm intrigued because you know what? I mean, buying yogurt, that with sugars and everything. I think
Yeah,
you can control now what the intake is, and you can make. I mean,
yeah.
this is like the old time of making your like feta cheese and stuff at home, like goat
Mhm.
cheese and things like that. I used to actually believe it or not, I used to be able to make my own cheese. For
Wow, I had
milk.
no idea. That's cool. I didn't know you could make your own cheese at home.
Yeah, you could. I mean, basically, same thing. You let it, let the milk settle until it kind of like, kind of spoils in a way. And
Yeah.
then, it becomes, the water separates and then you kind of let that simmer and over a couple of days. And then basically, then you put some salt to cure it. And you have like just like a goat cheese type of concept, but it's going to be like cow cheese,
Oh, cool.
it's good for breakfast. you know so that's just like a home recipe that I've learned when I was a kid, from my mom, and then
That's
it
awesome, man.
works. But yeah, so well, Craig, listen, we've exceeded an hour. We've covered
Yeah.
quite a bit of ground. I think it's definitely a great discussion about how to improve our health and really achieve the ultimate health. And you also give us the machine to actually help us with that too. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can not only benefit from the book but also from the yogurt making
Uh-huh.
that we can do. And again, I'm not sure about the price on the machine, but you stated it's not very expensive, so I think it's very
Right.
competitive price. So
Right.
I'm not going to ask about that here, so people can do
Sure.
their due diligence and go on Amazon and just check it out.
I mean, it's the number one bestseller, so we must be doing something right.
That's right. Well, so that's about it. Any, I guess, final words of wisdom to share with our audiences before we close today?
Well, I just think that having a positive outlook, and I can tell that you're somebody who has a positive outlook and you care about people. One of the things I suggest is we all have problems, right? Like, I have problems, you have problems. So getting mired into those problems and just focusing on those problems is usually not the way out. And I find the best way, whenever I'm feeling down, I find if I go out in public and make a positive influence in someone's life, or I record a video for social media, and people can follow me on social media if they want. I'm shooting videos all the time, sharing useful information. And yes, I'm trying to help people, but you know what? It makes me feel great too. And I find when I go into the grocery store, for instance, I'm the happiest guy in the store. And I just feel like people, if you can make a positive impact in someone's life, if you can just look at someone in the eye, smile at them and say hello. Simple things like that can make you feel so good as a person. So I think the more you can take the attention off yourself and your own problems, and how can you enhance the lives of others. And that's the key to making money too. If you want to have wealth, Zig Ziglar, a sales trainer and business leader, and author, he says you can have everything you want in life by giving enough other people what they want. So if you just focus on others and how to enhance the lives of others, you're going to have everything you want. And that's my message for people.
Well, thank you. And that's really a message of value and really providing value to the world. And you know what? You live in by it, you are sharing it, and you're, giving the tools for people to use it. So thank you so much for everything you've done and for the work. And you look great. And so, we will follow, this will connect on the social side as well. And hopefully, we'll keep sharing information together. And that's all there is. So,
Great.
Craig, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hurricane
It
H
was
has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure was mine. And so there you have it, folks. We hope you've learned a few things and enjoyed the discussion. And definitely check out the book and the machine. Get that fresh yogurt, made at home if you have time.
Let's go.
That's it. That's it. All right. Well, so we'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Stay tuned. Bye for now.